Sylvester Stallone's story is almost too wild to be real. Born in the gritty streets of Hell's Kitchen, New York in 1946, his entrance into the world came with complications. Forceps used during his delivery damaged a facial nerve, leaving part of his face paralyzed. That drooping lip and slurred speech would become his trademark. But as a child, it made him a target for bullies. His early years were chaotic, bouncing between foster homes and schools as his parents' marriage unraveled. His mother was a women's wrestling promoter, his father, a stern Italian hairdresser. Stallone's world was far from glamorous, but even back then, he was dreaming big. His school years weren't any easier. Classmates mocked him, and one year he was even voted most likely to end up in the electric chair. Harsh judgment for a kid who simply didn't fit in, but Stallone pushed through, moved to Philadelphia to live with his mum, and began lifting weights, acting and writing his way out of obscurity. He studied drama in college, but money was tight. So he hustled, he ushered at theaters, worked at a zoo, even sold tickets on the side before getting fired. The dream was always bigger than the struggle, but the path ahead was brutal. By the late 1960s, Stallone was flat broke, evicted, sleeping in bus stations, desperate for work. Then came a decision that would haunt him and later define him. He agreed to act in a low-budget adult film titled The Party at Kitty and Studs, $200 for 2 days of filming. Not a proud moment, but as Stallone put it, it was either that or rob someone later renamed the Italian Stallion. The movie resurfaced when Stallone became famous, sparking controversy and curiosity. But back then, he wasn't thinking about legacy. He was just trying to survive. Things began to shift when a casting agent noticed him in a small, off-Broadway play. He was offered a role in The Lords of Flatbush alongside Henry Winkler and Perry King. It wasn't a blockbuster, but it gave Stallone visibility. Small parts followed in films like Bananas Mash and Clute. He was even tackled on screen by Jack Lemmon in The Prisoner of Second Avenue. Then came a turning point in 1975 while watching the Ailey vs. Wepner boxing match. Stallone felt a spark. He went home and 3 days later he had a screenplay written by hand. It was Rocky. But Stallone didn't just want to sell Rocky. He wanted to star in it. Studios offered serious money for the script, but only if a big name like Robert Redford or Burt Reynolds played the lead. Stallone refused. He was broke, living in a tiny apartment with barely enough to eat, but he stood firm. Eventually, producers agreed to cast him with a reduced budget. Rocky was filmed and released in 1976, and it was an instant sensation. Critics praised Stallone's performance. Roger Ebert compared him to Marlon Brando. Rocky earned 10 Oscar nominations and won 3, including Best Picture. Suddenly, Sylvester Stallone was a star. The world saw him as the ultimate underdog, and he leaned into that image, but Stallone wasn't finished just 6 years later. He introduced another unforgettable character, John Rambo. First Blood premiered in 1982, with Stallone playing a traumatized war veteran hunted by his own country. The role was intense, raw, and powerful, and it struck a nerve with audiences. Rambo became a franchise and a symbol of American grit. The same year, Stallone solidified his place in Hollywood. By receiving a star on the Walk of Fame, his run through the 80s was electric. With hits like Cobra Tango and Cash Cliffhanger and Demolition. Stallone became one of the highest paid actors in the world, but while he was dominating the box office, he was also quietly feuding with fellow action titan Arnold Schwarzenegger. The two poked fun at each other in interviews, planted fake stories, and competed for the biggest guns and explosions. Fans ate it up. Their rivalry helped shape the genre itself, but eventually the two made peace and even teamed up years later. In 2006, Stallone returned to the ring with Rocky Balboa, then again in 2008 with a grittier, bloodier version of Rambo, proving he still had it in him. But it was The Expendables in 2010 that truly brought the action heroes of the past back to life. Stallone wrote, directed and starred in the film, assembling a dream team of 80s and 90s legends, including Jason Statham, Jet Li, Dolph Lundgren, Mickey Rourke, Terry Crews, and of course Bruce Willis. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger made a cameo. It was a nostalgia bomb that exploded at the box office, and fans were loving every second. But behind the scenes, something was starting to crack while the movie was a success. There were whispers about tension between Stallone and Bruce Willis, a clash that no one saw coming. But the fallout was just beginning, and what happened next would send shockwaves through Hollywood. The Expendables was more than just a film. It was Stallone's personal tribute to the action era he helped define. So when it came time for Expendables 2, he brought the fire again this time. Chuck Norris and Jean-Claude Van Damme joined the cast, and the sequel did even better with critics and fans. Bruce Willis returned as Mr. Church, and on-screen, everything seemed fine, but off-screen, trouble was brewing fast. When Stallone began planning Expendables 3, he wanted the same explosive energy he offered Bruce Willis, a staggering $3 million for just 4 days of work. But Willis wasn't satisfied. He reportedly demanded $4 million. Instead, just $1 million more for the same days on set. Stallone refused, and that's when things got messy. Instead of handling it quietly, Stallone took to Twitter. He posted "greedy and lazy, a sure formula for career failure." He never mentioned Willis by name, but everyone knew who he meant. The tweet went viral and their friendship was over just like that. Willis didn't respond publicly, but the damage was done. Fans were stunned. These two giants of action had gone from comrades to rivals over a single $1 million gap. Stallone replaced him with Harrison Ford for the third film and never looked back. The Expendables 3 hit theaters in 2014 with new faces like Wesley Snipes, Antonio Banderas, and Mel Gibson. But it couldn't match the success of its predecessors. It underperformed, and many fans felt the magic was missing. Perhaps the tension behind the scenes had finally caught up with the franchise. Still, Stallone kept evolving. He didn't just rely on old characters, he took new risks, and in 2015 he struck gold again with Creed, playing an aging Rocky mentoring Apollo, Creed's son. The film was a hit both commercially and critically. Stallone won a Golden Globe and earned another Oscar nomination. 40 years after the original Rocky, it was the kind of comeback few actors ever achieve, and it reminded the world why Stallone mattered not just as a fighter, but as a storyteller. His talents didn't stop with acting over the years. Stallone also proved himself as a writer-painter and even a fitness author. He penned books, shared his health philosophies, and collected art from some of the world's most famous artists. But while his career soared, his personal life was often stormy, filled with lost betrayal and unexpected twists. Stallone's love life has been just as dramatic as his movies. He married Sasha Sack in 1974, and they had 2 sons. Sage and Sergio Sage followed in his father's footsteps, appearing in Rocky V. But tragedy struck in 2012 when Sage died at just 36 from heart disease. Sergio was diagnosed with autism as a child, and Stallone has kept that part of his life largely private, but it's clear the challenges deeply shaped him. After divorcing Sasha in 1985, Stallone married actress Brigitte Nielsen, but their union lasted only 2 years, full of public spats and tabloid drama. His next serious relationship with model Jennifer Flavin had its own set of ups and downs. They broke up after Stallone believed he fathered a child with Janice Dickinson, a claim later proven false with DNA tests. After brief engagement to model Angie Everhart, Stallone reunited with Flavin, and they married in 1997 together. They had 3 daughters, Sophia, Sistine, and Scarlett, all of whom were chosen as Golden Globe ambassadors in 2017. But the couple faced more turbulence in 2022 when Flavin filed for divorce. It seemed like the end of a 25-year marriage. Court records in Palm Beach, Florida, confirmed the split, but just a month later, the couple shocked everyone by reconciling. They withdrew the divorce and stayed together, proof that even in Hollywood, love can make a comeback. Family has always played a central role in Stallone's life, especially his younger brother Frank. Stallone, a musician and occasional actor, Frank contributed songs to several of Sylvester's films and even appeared in small roles. He scored a hit in 1983 with Far From Over and often stood in the shadow of his more famous sibling, but Sylvester never distanced himself from Frank. Their bond remained strong even during the hardest times. In 2012, the same year, he lost his son Sage Stallone. Also lost his half-sister Toni Ann Felitti to lung cancer. She was just 48 years old that year, marked one of the darkest periods in his life. Personally, professionally, he was still riding high, but behind the scenes, the pain was real. And pain was something Stallone knew all too well, especially on the job. His commitment to realism often led to brutal injuries. He insisted on doing his own stunts and paid the price during Escape to Victory. He broke a finger blocking a penalty kick from soccer legend Pelé while filming Rocky IV. He told Dolph Lundgren to punch him as hard as possible in the chest. The next thing Stallone remembers is waking up in intensive care with swelling around his heart. Doctors said his heart slammed against his ribcage and nearly shut down. He was hospitalized for 4 days. The injuries did